All right, the cameras are rolling, so
Well,
I'm calling
my pen. Oh, there we go.
I'm calling the meeting to order at 3:33.
All right.
This is the regularly scheduled September 2021 meeting of the Monuments and Ceremonies Commission. And as we do not have a quorum, we will not be voting on anything today. But looking at our lovely agenda, we have yet to approve the minutes from May because we did not have a quorum at the June meeting. Comments, corrections, deletions, and the answer was no. But if you take a moment just to review the June minutes, that if there are any corrections, amplifications, or deletions that need to be made, we can make them before our next meeting and save that little bit of effort.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Is anyone on video conference, or is this just in?
No, this is only live today.
Okay. So this is
This is it. Okay, next on the list, commission staffing. John King has moved out of town.
Oh,
So,
no.
yes,
Yes,
so
yes.
we now have a vacancy again. So, I suppose what is going to happen is I'm going to contact the Democrat Town Committee and the Republican Town Committee and ask them to revive looking for candidates. We need
Unless
one.
Al Miller took the spot.
Why don't you go over there and twist his arm?
I have tried several times.
I'm busy with that.
But it's coming to an end, Al. I mean, you've got that so, you're like a well-oiled machine. He is. He has done a great job at that, in that
Thank you
position.
very much.
Off camera, because we do not have to wear masks if we are socially distanced. So there are attendees who are off camera, and Jim Long was making a comment about Al Miller's terrific efforts on the 2020/2021 Bicentennial Committee, which we will get to later on. I'm going to go past Chairman's report because everything I would be reporting on is going to be covered in one of the other topics on our agenda. Moving on to Flag Day ceremony. I just got a text 5 minutes ago from Sue Ann Shore saying that she is still stuck in a meeting and will be here late. So in the event that she does get here before we close, I'm going to defer Flag Day ceremony till later in the meeting. September 11th Memorial Service. We had our service this Saturday morning. My guesstimate was we had over 200 people there, which was very nice to see. Of course, we could always hope for more. We had Jamie Stevenson give some pithy comments about her vision about what we could be. I spoke about the history of the monument, that it was the work of Josh Doying, a Darien High School sophomore at the time when he started. It was his Eagle Scout project, and Josh single-handedly drove that initiative to create a 9/11 memorial, which is located in the grotto behind Middlesex Middle School. For those who are not aware it's there, it's a lovely place to go and sit and have a quiet moment of reflection, whether it's on 9/11 or anything else that you may be looking for a quiet spot to sit. There are nice benches, there are nice shade trees. It's a very nice, understated memorial. As has been our habit in every year since 2002, we do not read the names of those members in town who were killed that day for several reasons. First and foremost, one of the widows requested we not. Secondly, some of those families have moved out of town. Thirdly, no doubt, at least one family who lost someone has probably moved into town since then. And many of us have lost friends, relatives, neighbors, albeit not residents of Darien. So we do not read the names, but we commemorate all those who died that day. And this year, on the 20th anniversary, we made special note to mention all those who have died from 9/11 since 9/11, as many firefighters and policemen have died since 9/11, from 9/11, who died on that day. And over 2,000 others have succumbed to cancer. Construction workers, volunteers, residents of the neighborhood, people fleeing the building. Over 2,000 of them have died from cancers that are specifically related to 9/11. So not only this year, but any year in the future when we have our annual memorial service, it will also, sadly, the numbers will continue to rise. So I would encourage anybody, put it in your calendar next year if you were not aware of it. It starts at about 8:20 in the morning on September 11th. Next year is a Sunday, so if you're a churchgoer, as I am, you can go to a later service.
Sorry,
Yes.
how about was it a man or a woman?
Well, I had that same question because it was definitely Goldilocks one way or the other. I couldn't tell it. I found out subsequently it was a man. One of the firefighters had a medical emergency, and the ceremony was halted for about 15 minutes while the EMS came and took him away in the ambulance. I did make inquiries after the fact, and he has recovered fully. And yeah, I mean, if anybody wants to actually see the service, it's available on Vimeo. I'm sure if you go onto YouTube, it's probably on there as well. Yeah, but that was cut out, thankfully, that was cut out of the video. Yeah.
Bad timing.
And we were honored this time that in addition to our Board of Selectmen, who always show up, and our state representatives Terry Wood and Matt Blumenthal, who always show up, and State Senator Bob Duff, who almost always shows up. The only time he doesn't show up is if he's got the same duties in Norwalk as well. And this year we were especially honored to have U.S. Congressman Jim Himes attend as well. So we want to thank and State Senator Patricia Billy Miller, who also showed up. This is her first year in office, so I can't say always, this is her first year. But we were very thankful that our elected officials showed up, and always delightful to see them.
And Billy is a
Patricia Billy Miller is a state senator.
state senator.
She represents. She's the opposite of Bob Duff. Bob Duff has half of Darien and Norwalk. Patricia Billy Miller has half of Darien and Stamford. Next, Veterans Day plans. So typically on Veterans Day, we ask the churches to all ring their bells at 11 o'clock to mark the hour at which the Armistice took place in 1918. In addition, we will have a ceremony out in front of Town Hall that day. If I was smarter than I am, I would have written down what day of the week it is this year, so let me take a fast look. It's a Thursday this year, Thursday, November 11th. No doubt among the thousands of fans watching us on Channel 79 right now, there may be one or two grade schoolers who do not associate Veterans Day with what all of the old fogies among us used to know as Armistice Day. It marks the end of hostilities in World War I, which was supposed to take effect at 11 o'clock on November 11th. So we will have a brief ceremony out front of Town Hall that day in Veterans Circle, which is where the flagpoles are, with the cooperation of the VFW. So, Veterans Day, and we will gather here at 10:30 in the morning. Cemetery Committee update.
Okay.
Mr. DeMarc.
I talked to Mario this morning.
Mario, by the way, is the contractor that we have hired to do the cemetery maintenance.
And he, you know, I said, was there a lot of problems because of the storm? And he said, really, the only real issue was the Roten River Cemetery. There was a lot of branches and stuff came down. And I said, well, just clean it up and get it out of there. He said, okay, fine. But here's the good news, okay? And I got this idea from you advising us about this Eagle Scout that created this monument for September 11th. There's a cemetery across the street from the Ox Ridge property that the town bought. It's Hoyt,
Right.
and it's next door to 543 Middlesex Road.
Oh, so as long as you take a seat where there's blue tape, you don't have to wear a mask.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Okay, so the guy that's the caretaker of 543 Middlesex Road has been taking care of the cemetery for 20 years, free, on his own. And he's got a buddy of his that they take care of. So I thought, you know, I've been trying to get Rob because one of his companies owns a monument company. And earlier on this year, we had one of those gentlemen come out and take a look at some of the cemeteries with stones broken. And he was gonna try and get a guy coming out here to give us an idea about what it would cost to fix all of the cemeteries that we're looking for. And unfortunately, he hasn't been able to make it. But this guy that's been taking care of this cemetery has been repairing the stones himself and a friend. And I've been talking to him, and he's explained to me how he does it. So I said, would you be interested in teaching some Boy Scouts how to do this? And I called Bert von Stoopnagel because he's been very much involved in the Boy Scouts and the Eagle Scouts. And I rolled this by him, and I said, would you please come out to the cemetery and we can talk to this guy. So he came out this morning, and this other gentleman was there, and I explained to Joe why Bert was there. Bert took down all the information. He said it would be an excellent idea and an excellent thing for potential Eagle Scouts to do. So he's going to talk to, I guess, the Boy Scouts about this. So that's, I think, a very good thing. I didn't realize that these Eagle Scouts have got to put in 125 hours in order to get that Eagle Scout badge.
Yeah.
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
Well, the 125 hours doesn't have to be on that project, though.
No, I'm with you. But so Bert's taking it. He's going to propose it to whomever he's going to propose it to, and then we're going to get one or two of these potential Eagle Scout candidates to meet with this guy, and he's going to show them what to do.
How
So-
does he fix them? What does he put cement in the cracks to put them back together?
He owns a farm in Vista, but he's
Okay.
been working on this 543 Middlesex for 34 years.
He's been coming down from Vista to do this?
Yeah, but,
Wow.
and trust me, if you ever look behind 543 Middlesex Road, it goes back and is an absolutely magnificent gardens. All the way at the end of the property, there's a pond that's asphalt bottom, it's spring fed. There's a house, the guy that owns, he's passed away, but he owns 5 of these different type homes like this.
542 Middlesex?
543 Middlesex Road, okay? So, but he's got all kinds of different equipment, and I said to him, look, Joe, we would have to do something like this on site. So he explained how to go about doing it on site. You know, I don't wanna go into all the details, and he said, I'll show these kids what to do. And, he explained to me how you can put, you know, the broken part on the other part, and there's an epoxy that he found out he uses. You know, over near Twin Rinks, there's a marble place on the right-hand side of the road.
Yes.
He talked to those people, and they gave him an idea about you can use this type of epoxy. So he does that, and he clamps it and does whatever, and I said, great, fine, you know. Just show these young boys how to do this, and he said, yeah, I'd be delighted to do it, so. But not for that property, because he takes care of that. The one that I'd like him to start on is the Roten River property off the Post Road. So the next meeting we have, I'll give you an update on terms of how this has progressed.
And you know, since I moved closer to the Roten River
Right.
Cemetery, I've seen it much more frequently. And Mario's been doing a terrific job because he was in there right after the storm. And it really looks terrific.
That's great.
On the bad news side, not so much that storm as the July storm.
Which was worse.
Several more of the stones got damaged. So that would be a great place, because really that's the cemetery that is most visible for people, whether they're residents or visiting town. That's the most visible cemetery there is among the ones that we're looking after. So Mario's really doing a bang-up job there.
I'll make sure I let him know that.
Terry, does the town have any special funds for repairs of items such
We
as
have
those?
we have a $10,000 separate fund allocated for cemetery repair and maintenance.
Jim, I've been talking to a couple of foundations in town, which I'm not gonna name. And I was trying to set up a situation where when this guy came back and looked at all the cemeteries, would say, okay, it's gonna cost X amount of thousands of dollars. And then I had a couple of foundations that were interested in helping this, but it's only a one-time deal, it's a capital expenditure.
Right.
And the great part about what the town does is they take care of the maintenance side of it, Jim.
Right.
Not the capital side that,
Okay.
that would cost a lot of money to do this, so, you know.
Anything else on cemeteries?
That's it.
Okay, Wartime Veteran Street Sign Program. We do have several applications in. The committee did not meet over the summer, and there is not enough time to vet each one of the applications to do anything in time for Veterans Day. What we have done, not that we're tied to it, there is no stricture of we must do one every year or not. We have, when we started the program, our initial thought process was if we had the appropriate applications to try to tie them into either Memorial Day or Veterans Day. So I don't think there's going to be any change, so my expectation is that there will be nothing done on the Wartime Veteran Street Sign Program. We will not be looking to designate one earlier than Memorial Day of 2022. For those who are listening in, among our thousands of listeners, the Wartime Veteran Street Sign Program is something that was initiated by Lucy Berry, who is the social studies teacher at Middlesex Middle School. Lucy grew up in town. She really got this rolling all by herself. And the thought process was to honor someone who has served in combat served the country in wartime and has served the community as well here in Darien in peacetime. And when we find those appropriate veterans and neighbors, an honorary street sign is put up on the street where they have lived. So the program has been in effect now for 2.5 years. We do need some bodies on this commission to step into the subcommittee for the Wartime Street Sign Program, as we have lost 2 members and are likely to lose a third, tick-tock, very shortly. So we need somebody to volunteer to help with the street sign, Wartime Veteran Street Sign Program. It's not an onerous task. It's basically reviewing the documents, making sure all the documentation is complete, verifying that the service record and the town service rendered is accurate, and then choosing among the different candidates that are in.
Is it more than one person on this subcommittee?
Right now, it's me.
Okay.
And while technically Lucy is still the chair, I think Lucy has one foot out the door and the other on a banana peel.
Listen,
so-
I'll do it if Jimmy Long will do it with me.
Okay, we got 3.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jim
great.
Long, Jim DeMarc, Lorraine Gomez. Good.
Okay.
And there is our
I didn't put mine down, but that's okay.
vice chair. So I'm glad we held off on Flag Day. So your timing is perfect, young lady.
Hooray.
As long as you're in a chair with a blue tape, you don't have to wear a mask.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Tell us about Flag Day. You were senior officer president.
Yes, it was very sparsely attended, but spirited people
What
were
day
there.
of the week was it this year?
Oh gosh, I don't even remember.
Well, hold on, I can go back. I got the calendar open.
And it had been very rainy.
Monday.
And there was a lot, still a threat of rain. So we kind of did an abbreviated ceremony, but still, oh, and that's right, the flag had been, I got there relatively early and the flag was gone. So we raised the one that you had given me, which was, looked teeny tiny up there, but we still went through and we had some of the VFW guys were there to help out with that, and it was a very nice ceremony. And I used your script, mentioned a few words about the flag, the tradition of the flag, the tradition of Flag Day, and it seemed to be very well received. But short and sweet.
Yeah, it's typically not, I would say on a good day, I would say the best we've probably ever done for attendance of that is probably, well, there was one year that was extraordinary when they were building the Mather Center, when the entire work crew came up. So we had a big crowd that day.
Oh, nice.
But other than that, I would say that our largest crowd ever was probably about 55 people.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
this was probably 10 to 12.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because at Memorial Day, 9 times out of 10, there's always threat of bad weather. And I always get the emails, are we having the ceremony if it rains?
Yeah, sure.
And I say, well,
That's what
the
umbrellas
troops on the
are for.
front line don't get the option to go home if it's raining,
That's
so
right.
neither do we. Okay, next, wreaths. Well, I'll hold off wreaths across America and shoehorn new business in front, because new business is Al Miller with the 2020/2021 Bicentennial Committee to bring us up to date.
Right. So there was an email in July where I gave I put a PowerPoint presentation in. And Terry had looked at it, and some other people looked at it, and they had some questions. I got another email I sent to Terry answering those responses, but I'll send it to everybody, with an update on the presentation. So the presentation, the first 7 pages I've got here, so keeping socially distanced, if everybody wants to pick one up. They can pick one up, but I only have 4, Terry has it online, I think.
I have it online.
And I've got it here, so
Thank you.
it's only the first 7 pages, but it shows you.
I'll email it to everybody.
I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, because I haven't seen this.
Well, a little background. When Al first proposed this, which was, I don't know, a year and a half ago,
2019, yeah.
2 years ago, the commission at that point gave Al blanket permission to proceed with the plan as it was presented. My notes to Al back in July were just nitpicking notes about all the little stuff, not to be the pain in the you-know-what that I can be, but as, you know, we can't treat Al any differently than we treat anybody else who's looking to put up a monument or a memorial. So, I mean, little things like when he said waist high. Well, you know, his waist and my waist are not the same height. So it was just little things like that, and if it were going to be on public property, has he secured the permit from the Department of Public Works to place it down? It was pure nitpicking. There was nothing there that I was questioning, is this okay or not? And of course, me being the writer, of course I had to give a little grammatical too as well. But yeah, the plan had been approved previously by the commission, so we're still going ahead, but we don't have to authorize him to do it because that was granted a year and a half ago. It was just the devil in the details. That's what that was about. I did note on a personal basis, and for those among our thousands of listeners, those with deep pockets, on a personal basis, my only disappointment was that we're talking about now the trail markers for the historic trail in Darien. So there are sites in Darien that hopefully people interested in local history will actually walk the trail. On a personal basis, I was disappointed that the Fitch Home for Soldiers and Sailors on Norotan Avenue was not incorporated. And Al explained to me it was not out of oversight, but with limited funds, everything had to be made a decision to stay within the funding aspect. And as there are already plaques and monuments notating the presence of the Fitch Home for Soldiers and Sailors, that was the one that was not put on the trail. But as Al pointed out, at some future date, it can be added. It is noted in his presentation as another site. So if anybody with deep pockets wants to spring for a trail marker, boy, have we got a site for that individual or that group.
What's the cost of that?
It'll be, it may have a comma in it for everything,
Okay.
but it may not. It's going to be high hundreds, maybe up to 1,000.
Probably over 1,000, yeah.
Over 1,000. So for those who may not know, the Fitch Home for Soldiers and Sailors, Benjamin Fitch, who was a millionaire when millionaires were unheard of in the 1850s, was too old to fight in the Army when the Civil War broke out, but he paid to have a regiment drawn up in Darien. And when he saw the carnage of what happened at Gettysburg, he, out of his own pocket, spent over $100,000 in 1863 to construct the first home for soldiers and sailors in the nation. There had been homes for officers, but there had never been a convalescent home for enlisted personnel. And it was the home for soldiers and sailors and their orphans. And orphans in 1863 had an entirely different definition than it has today. If the typical example would be a soldier who was either killed or maimed in war, who had a family of 8 children, the mother was not capable in many of those instances of financially supporting 8 children. So any number of those children would become orphans. And there were I forget the exact number, but there were several, I'm gonna say several hundred is my best guess, orphans living in that home as well for a long, long time. And Benjamin Fitch would give each orphan $5 in 1864 dollars. The town of Darien would give money, and the town oversaw that home for approximately, if I remember correctly, 24 years before the state took it over. But it is a real historic site, not only for Darien, but for the nation, that the first home for enlisted personnel. And the only remaining building from that complex is the former chapel, which was moved across the street and is currently the home of Darien VFW Post 6933. So that would be a wonderful addition for somebody with deep pockets. It doesn't have to be that deep, but that would be nice.
So I do list on the 3rd page, well, the first page has, that's actually our logo of the Darien Heritage Trail. We've got a graphic designer, actually a company, Miranda Creative.
Would you describe the logo for those who are listening, please?
The logo is a circle. It's got a graphic representation of the Rings End Bridge, and then water and trees on the side, a blue sky with clouds and seagulls flying above it. And around the circular perimeter, it says the Darien Heritage Trail. It's green, blue, and white. And of course, the bridge is kind of a gray color. And we're sending out or distributing magnets for your car and stickers and stuff like that. We've done it at the library and some other events as well at the beach festival we had. The 3rd page gives the sites. So the first 3 are going to be done this year in October. They're all on private sites, and we've worked with the site owners, which are the Museum of Darien, the First Congregational Church of Darien, and the Manor Homestead. So those are all going to be installed in October. And
nitpicking question now.
sure.
While all 3 of those are civic-minded organizations, and logic would suggest that they would keep and maintain those signs in perpetuity, but is there anything codified?
No, for those 3 sites, the funding all comes from the Darien Foundation, and this would be a gift to those 3 sites. However, as you said previously, this was discussed a couple of years ago, especially with Dave Pollitt, and for the sites that are on public property, which are Tilly Pond, Rings End Landing, Battle Post Road, which is at Hindley, and the Roten River Cemetery. For those 4, I pledged to him to give the Monuments and Ceremonies $1,000 for maintenance. And really, the only thing in maintenance is wipe it with a cloth if it gets graffitied all over. At the time I proposed that today, there were like 6 public sites, now there are 4, so $1,000 should still be good. So that's how we're addressing maintenance. For the public sites and private sites, it's really up to them However, those are all very civic-minded. It's right in front of their organization, right in front of their house or whatever. So of course they're going to maintain it. And for the
It helps them tell their stories as well.
yeah, it helps them to tell them stories. They were all very, very excited. On the next, well, the other sites are Tillery Pond Park, History of Post Road, History of Downtown, Rings End Landing, Battle of Post Road, which is at Indian River Cemetery. Those are due in 2022. And I'm fully aware that for those that are on public sites, I've got to come back to the commission and show you the actual text that will be placed and have you guys approve the text. So I'm fully aware that next year I'm going to have to present those sites to you for your approval, for your further approval. So the next slide actually shows the Museum of Darien, and I'm really happy about how that turned out. Yeah, you can have. The colors and everything, everyone will be similar to this. They're going to be on the side. There'll be a side panel in darker blue with the logo up on top, and then a brief discussion of the site. There'll be 3 or 4 color pictures, and then 3 or 4 actually topics that will be addressed. On the bottom, there'll be a site, a logo of the Darien 2020 Fund logo. There'll be the site logo of the Museum of Darien or the Mather Homestead or whatever, there'll be that. There'll be the Darien Foundation, who is paying for all of this. And there will also be a QR code. Now the QR code is really, really fantastic. So you're gonna put your phone at the QR code and it will come up to a website. The website will be the property or maintained by the Museum of Darien. You'll be able to see further information on there. You'll also be able to see an oral presentation for each site. So there's a Darien High School student whose name is Alexis Leon, and she's a Girl Scout. And part of the Girl Scout, I believe it's the Gold Award, which is very similar to an Eagle Scout Award. Her project for that is to develop this oral history. So for each site, all of one of those 9 sites, she's going to be asking 3 volunteers from that site just for a 2 or 3 minute interview that you'll be able to listen to. So for example, for the Museum of Darien, we're asking the executive director, or the head of it, Bob Pascal, who's going to be on it. We're asking Ken Reese. We may ask Marion Castell, who's actually the Darien historian. Ken Reese is the historian at the Museum of Darien. This is important because you guys own the cemetery site. So if anybody would like to volunteer for a 2-minute interview with Alexis.
Didn't I just see Jim DeMarc's hand go up?
We can't have Terry do it because he can't speak for 2 minutes.
Right.
Well, that's something that's going to be in
I know that's the
2022.
chairman.
I think Jim DeMarc is the secondary
Chairman,
subcommittee
Terry.
chair.
No pressure. She can give you
Great
the
job.
questions in advance if you like.
You know that there's 2 women in town that do podcasts, Taylor Carter and Liz, I forget her last name, but they do
This is something that she's doing for her Girl Scout Gold certification.
No, I'm not saying in lieu of her doing that, but,
Okay.
I mean, if she does that, is it gonna be video?
Some of it may be video. She's working
I'm
with.
just throwing that out to you
Yeah,
because
she-
it may be an additional idea, that's
Yeah, no,
all.
she's also working with, DAF Media, the DAF Media.
Okay.
Yeah. So in any event, that's gonna be really interesting too. So anybody wants to volunteer. So that's the first site. The next site is the First Congregational Church. We're really proud of how these layouts look. Yeah. And the final one is the Mather Foundation.
Is that different than the Mather Homestead? Mather Foundation?
I'm sorry, the Mather Homestead. I'm
Oh.
sorry, not the Mather, yeah, the Mather Homestead. I misspoke.
So
Only about the Darien Foundation.
the website that you go to with the QR code is at each individual places, or you had mentioned?
It'll be on the Museum of Darien
It is on
website.
the
It will be on there,
okay.
and then you'll be able to click individual sites. We will also have a brochure, maybe it will be given out at the library or here at Town Hall. And there would be, other points of interest as well on the brochure. So we're really happy about it. The last slide kind of shows you exactly how the thing kind of looks. They haven't been manufactured yet, but that's and it kind of gives you how to maintain it, what it's made of, the size of it, blah, 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 how it kind of looks next to some people walking there. So we chose those 3 sites because October 23rd is the Heritage Day, the last big event for the 2020.
So everybody who's listening, mark your calendars, October 23rd is Heritage Day.
And everybody, every single mailbox in town will be getting another postcard like this with all the events of Heritage Day. It's going to be huge, really, really, really big.
By the way, your past event, the beach event.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
That was great.
That was a lot of fun. We're going to do a reenactment of the raid on Middlesex Meeting House.
Wow.
We've had auditions. We got a director, Carol Claps. We've had over 16 people come to the auditions for it, speaking and non-speaking roles. There's going to be a narrator who actually is a member of the First Congregational Church, and he is an actual descendant of Moses Mather.
Wow.
Wow.
Who was kidnapped in 1781. Pretty exciting stuff.
Living history.
Yeah. Resurrected history.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for all your work. I mean, this is one of those Herculean tasks that goes on behind the scenes, and I know it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours of work. And thank you for all you've put into it.
Terry,
Yes.
for anyone that's listening, can you describe exactly how they can donate money if they are interested in supporting an additional marker or anything else? Because I would guess even if they could just donate a little bit, and a small donation, it could
So,
add up.
as with all things with public scenarios, that has to run through the town machinery. So always, anytime you have any question on this or anything else in town, Linda O'Leary and Karen Dunn are the 2 executive secretaries in town. So any question about how do I should be directed to them, and they will funnel it to the appropriate individuals who have to put together how it works.
Okay.
Because we cannot, as a commission, we cannot accept funds as a commission. It has to go through the town to us.
But I just meant when he was, when Al was discussing the markers, was the Darien
Right.
Foundation collecting money for that?
No,
When you were
the
discussing-
Darien Foundation has funded these 9 markers.
When you were talking about the Fitch marker.
Right, but
and
if we want to fund, and
Another one.
if funding will come for an additional marker, it has to go, it would be a designated fund, so the town would set it up.
Okay, so they should.
And
they
the
should
town
contact
would
the
then tell us about the dedicated category that they have structured for us to utilize.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think you'd have to have a proposal and everything.
Right.
Oh, if somebody wanted to make a donation?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so
because-
they should contact Linda O'Leary to,
Yeah, if they contact the executive secretaries will structure what the donor is required to do and who in town would be involved to receive it and set it up.
great.
All
We
the
just
9
cannot take money, yeah.
All the 9 have been funded already, and that was a grant proposal by the Darien Foundation.
And great thanks to the Darien Foundation for all they do, not only in this, but they're very supportive of many endeavors. As it relates to this committee, they are the ones who set up broadcasting the Memorial Day Parade for us as well. Yeah. And they do lots of other stuff around town, especially with the schools. Yeah. Okay. Thank you again, Al. And that beach event was great. Postponed how many times?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, thanks to the Park and Rec department also for that.
That really was a lot of fun.
It was.
Wreaths across America. While this is not directly a Monuments and Ceremonies Commission endeavor, it is one that we support and cooperate with, the VFW Post 6933. The Wreaths Across America is an organization that will place wreaths on veterans' tombstones at military cemeteries all around the world, not just here in the United States, but if you go to Manila, if you go to Italy, if you go to France, they will put wreaths on veterans' tombstones all around the globe. We've been doing it here in Darien for, I'm not sure how many years, I want to suggest about 15 years. When you're driving past Spring Grove Cemetery in December and January and you see the wreaths on all the veterans' headstones, that's how they get there. While there are a number of organizations that do get involved with this, we have worked hand in glove with the VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars, because they have supplied most of the manpower over the years to solicit retail donations. I will say that last year, we got an extraordinary amount of heavy lifting by, I don't want to mention any names, Jim DeMark and John King, who really went out of their way to shake the corn stalks and drop the ears, and we ended up getting every single headstone covered last year. And we had enough to put not quite 100 wreaths, it was 100, 125 more that went on to, there are many veterans buried in the private section of Spring Grove as well. So we covered them. We also were able to put a wreath in the water at Darien Boat Club to commemorate those who were lost at sea. And we also put wreaths on the headstones of the 3 Medal of Honor winners who were buried here in Darien. One is buried in Spring Grove, who is the youngest member of the armed forces from the state of Connecticut to have been awarded the Medal of Honor. He was 14 years old. We have 2 other Medal of Honor winners, one from the Civil War in Slauson Cemetery and one from World War I in St. John's Cemetery. So we were able to cover all of those. The first organizational meetings are going on now. Anybody who wants to get involved in Wreaths Across America, again, you can contact the executive secretaries in town. They will be happy to put you in touch with members of the committee who is working on that. Typically, the wreaths are placed depending upon how the Saturdays fall in December, either the first or second Saturday in December, usually the second. And I know that we've gotten great help in the past from the Girl Scouts, the Boy Scouts, the Darien football team, the Darien hockey team, and parents with young children. And my best counsel to the adults is come, bring your kids, take one wreath and then get out of the way, because the kids really, kids do all the heavy lifting. And it's great to see them get involved in a fun outdoor activity that has a commemorative and introspective aspect to it. So it's all good. And anything else, ladies and gentlemen? Yes,
Just want to
Nancy?
mention that I finally got through to the new editor of the Darien Times, and our first monument of the month was in August.
Right.
Unfortunately, he published the wrong picture with it. I sent him a picture of the monument and a picture of the mile marker. He only printed the mile marker, which,
Okay.
if he had a choice, he should have done the monument, but he didn't, so that was it. So I'm working on number 2,
All right, you
which
and I,
hopefully will be in this month.
you and I have to just touch base on that, because what we do not want to do is replicate the monuments that have already been done previously by
okay.
Karen. So you and I'll have to do a little noodling on that. I'll have to go back and find which monuments are still not noticed.
Okay, and then let me know so I know which
Yeah.
ones to work on.
One of the cool ones would be the Kensett Memorial,
Kensett?
Kensett. That's, because that's a piece of Darien history that very few people know about.
Okay.
It's pretty cool.
I will put that one on for September.
Okay, any other new business before us? Do I hear a motion for a Carabillo?
I second.
Ed, we call a motion to adjourn at Carabillo. Ed Carabillo, who unfortunately was killed in an automobile accident 4 years ago. Korean veteran, a longtime member of this commission, always wanted to get home early. So in honor of Ed, we call it a Carabillo.
Okay.
So having the Carabillo motion and seconded, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we end the meeting at 3/4/24. Thank you, everybody. See you in a month.
Oh, you're.